Tall buildings, bustling traffic, jam-packed streets. These are just a few words that can describe Nairobi, East Africa's most cosmopolitan city. This exciting, frenetic concrete jungle is home to over 4 million residents. Like any other city, Nairobi has experienced rapid population growth over the years. The city's status as a vital regional, commercial, and financial hub has given rise to mega real estate, industrial, and road infrastructural developments. Green spaces, unfortunately, have borne the brunt of Nairobi's burgeoning skyline. The greenery that once defined the cityscape has tremendously shrunk. For the small remaining green spaces, it's a battle for survival. Looming encroachment and land grabs pose constant threats to Nairobi's parks and urban forests as demand for land intensifies. Amidst the onslaught on Nairobi's green spaces lies hope. Lobby groups made up of conscious urban dwellers are now voicing the conservation of urban parks and forests for prosperity. Friends of City Park is one such group. In this show, we will be discussing green spaces in Nairobi. Join me as we know more about their relevance, threats facing them, and what's being done to conserve them. Stay tuned to yet another informative episode of Nature Matters. My guest today is Cynthia Wamba from Friends of City Park. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello, Richard.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
To get us started, who are Friends of City Park?
Friends of City Park, a project of Nature Kenya now, was formed in 1996 by a group of voluntary Nairobi residents. They observed what was happening at City Park, which was land grabbing, which was they intended to change this public park into private space. There was also tree felling or tree cutting and also rubbish dumping. So they came together to mobilize resources, to also mobilize individuals to ensure the future, the park is maintained for future generations. There are several activities that take place here at the park to also continue in that ideal. Some of them include expert-guided nature walks. So you can come and see the park and see it through the eyes of an expert, so get educated about the park, and therefore with education you tend to preserve what it is that you love and are interested in. We also rally a broad base of public, private, even government stakeholders who are interested in the long-term preservation of the park. In addition to engaging with different stakeholders, especially Nature Kenya, National Museums of Kenya, and Kenya Forestry Services.
Thank you, Cynthia, for that introduction.
Very welcome.
Friends of City Park are doing a great job
Thank
in
you.
keeping the park in very good shape.
Thank you.
Speaking of City Park, can you tell us how and when this park came to be?
Absolutely. I think the history is very interesting. In 1903, the Agakoyo Kihara clan bequeathed this public space that included all the way to Karura Forest to the residents of Nairobi. In 1925, or by 1925, these two spaces, Karura Forest and City Park, had now been split, I guess, by population growth and then, settlements. So in 1925, City Park was launched with a lease as Nairobi's first public park. Over the years, the park was neglected and it fell into, land grabbing and tree felling, as we mentioned earlier. So through the lobbying of Friends of City Park and other individuals, City Park was then gazetted as a national monument in 2009 and protected under the Museum's Heritage Act. And then in 2020, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta then gave us the remaining 63 hectares and gave us the title deed of the remaining 63 hectares and handed over the title deed to the Cabinet Secretary of Environment and Forestry.
Wow, that's an amazing story of one of Nairobi's public green spaces. I am sure there are other public green spaces in or even around the city. Can you mention some of them?
Absolutely. The most interesting one of the most interesting, because we have several public green spaces in Nairobi, is Uhuru Park. And the reason that we always think about Uhuru Park is where it's located. It's our central park. And the fact that it still exists is due to the efforts of Wangari Maathai, so that's why it also contains Freedom Corner. She fought for that public space, and we are definite beneficiaries of it. Another green space that we would mention and never forget Wangari Maathai is Karura Forest, which has managed to preserve over, I think, 1,000 hectares that is now accessible to many Nairobi residents. Arboretum Forest is there. There's Nairobi National Park. There's Olulua Nature Trail. There is also recently recovered through the efforts of a youth group, Kamkunji Gardens, which had been completely dilapidated. It was a very, very scary place to visit. Now there are families visiting there over the weekend, taking their kids are having fun. They've completely recovered that space. In addition to another space that was recovered is Mishuki Park, which is our next door neighbor, that is looking absolutely beautiful. It is one of my other favorite spaces in this lovely green city of ours.
Okay, so Cynthia, what are the benefits of having public green spaces in the city?
There are several benefits. The first one that I would think about is that these green spaces act as the lungs of our cities. We have a lot of problems, and physical problems, especially with the effects of air pollution. So they help to curb those effects. In addition, it reduces the urban heat island effect. In addition to cooling the city, just cooling the temperatures down in the city anyway, because as you walk from CBD and you enter Jivanji Gardens, you can feel the difference in temperature. Or CBD into Uhuru Gardens, Uhuru Park, you can definitely feel the difference in temperature. In addition to that, the accessibility to these green spaces helps to reinforce that this is a safe city, a safe place, that you're not going to get robbed, mugged, or harmed as you enter into these different spaces. And the recovery of these spaces, including City Park, including Karura Forest, has helped to gain back spaces that we had lost to crime and to dilapidation. Other effects or other advantages is that it gives us a place for families to socialize. I'm sure you can see in the background, there are lots of families having fun here, riding horses, there's face painting. There are those of us who are going to show our age by saying how we thought about Uhuru Park as a place where we could maybe try and swim in that lake, or try and paddle that boat, or try and pick the lilies. Uhuru Park has now is going with the times and now actually has a skateboarding area. So these spaces allow us to also encompass different generations in the same spaces. It's also a place to, it's a place to run, it's a place to walk. Hopefully over the years, as we connect these green spaces, we can make a cycle park that you can cycle all the way through Nairobi. So these green spaces are very, very important.
Despite the numerous benefits derived from urban green spaces, their existence is currently under big threat. City Park, for instance, once occupied 91 acres, but over time, its size has shrunk tremendously. As citizens, more so as urban dwellers, should we be concerned with this trend? And if so, why?
Yes, we absolutely should be concerned with this trend. For starters, our Constitution in Article 42 guarantees a clean and healthy environment, and I think that is most definitely related to the access and the expansion of green spaces. Moreover, as we had discussed before, there are numerous environmental health benefits that we are to gain from having green spaces around us. I would ask you to perhaps imagine what Nairobi would look like as a concrete jungle, and what per se would be our benefits from having that. Moreover, if you have these green spaces reclaimed, we can also look at something that's also very important to Nairobi, which is Nairobi River. As we are reclaiming green spaces, we're also having conversations about cleaning up the river. So there are numerous environmental benefits and also personal benefits to our regular citizens. In addition to that, reclaiming green spaces, as I mentioned, is a matter of safety for the cities. And it's a matter of also, I believe, justice for citizens. That if you have these spaces as safe spaces, these spaces as places where any single citizen can access them, then it's part of the fulfillment of what government should be able to provide for its citizens. So I think their reclamation is definitely important. Yes.
Awareness creation is critical in getting the public and concerned civil bodies to engage in conservation of these public green spaces.
Yes.
What are some of the activities or initiatives that Friends of City Park have engaged in to bring this awareness creation? And have they had any positive impact?
Yes. So we have had several stakeholder events where we have invited a diverse group of members of the public, members of different agencies and government to come together with the common interest of maintaining or restoring City Park. Let's start with restoration. Maintaining and then preserving it for future generations. We have several documents that are available on our website. Amongst them is a concept master plan, which is what this is, and this is going to be up at the park for all citizens to look at and see what the direction of the park is. This is a living document, so this document will adapt to the needs of the park as we go through the ages. Other ideas are tree management plan that we consulted on, and we will be hopefully having a webinar on it at the end of November. At least that is what we're planning on. There's also a conceptual design for the rehabilitation of Kibagari River that I mentioned before. So we have consulted with several different people, and it's bearing a lot of fruit, and it's bearing a lot of information that we're more than happy to share with other individuals in Nairobi. We also definitely keep consulting and keep talking to agencies such as National Museums of Kenya. They are very, very big and very important partner of ours. Nature Kenya, most definitely. And, Kenya Forestry Services, who have just come on board. These are people that we stay in constant communication with and keep exchanging information as our park grows and becomes more diversified. But moreover, we do have a regular blog, and we do have a newsletter that goes out. And we also do keep a pulse on what's going on in all social media platforms for those who are related to us. And we also do have a very strong social media presence ourselves. So that's how we keep exchanging information, keep growing, keep learning.
Have all these initiatives had any positive impact out there?
I think they have, because this concept master plan is right now being looked at, and I think this master plan will have an effect not only in Nairobi but in other parks when they're thinking about what they want to see their parks look like, or their green spaces look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It lets you plan way ahead, or just not from where you are right now, but where you want to go. So I think this is a very, very positive effect and a very, very interesting and important document. But I think also accessibility to information is very important. And the exchange of information is very important. So I think we are participating in all those, exchanging information with people who are interested in City Park and learning from other people who have other experiences from elsewhere.
Of late, we've seen the national government, through the Kenya Forest Service, taking over the running and management of urban green spaces in Nairobi from Nairobi County government.
Yeah.
City Park and Michuki Memorial Park are the latest urban green spaces that are under the jurisdiction of the Kenya Forest Service. Has this transition had any effect on operations of Friends of City Park?
It has had a positive effect. Friends of City Park has always worked with government. That is how we have directed our advocacy efforts. And therefore, it's a positive effect to see, and a positive thing to see more government concern and more government concern to do with green spaces, and specifically to do with City Park. So we're more than happy and very much welcome KFS to this space.
Free public access to these urban green spaces is a crucial aspect to their existence. We've previously seen some attempts to introduce some entrance fee to these urban spaces.
Yes.
What's your take on this?
I think, first of all, looking at City Park and looking at its history, as we have mentioned, this was started off as the first public park in Nairobi. It's a public park that is supposed to be accessible to all Nairobi's residents. I think adding entrance fees or fees to enter the park tends to exclude certain citizens. And having come through the year that we have just come through, the ability to have the ability to need excess income so that you can experience your city in a way that makes you feel more healthy, more peaceful. I think we will definitely try, and I believe we will succeed here at City Park in maintaining this as a free and open space for every citizen to be able to access, regardless of what social class you're in.
Cynthia, looking into the future, and amidst the rapid growing urban population, amidst the infrastructural development that we see everywhere, where do you see the future of green spaces in Nairobi?
I actually see a very bright future for green spaces in Nairobi. I think we have seen that citizen involvement, and I do believe that that's the key. The key to green spaces being maintained, being expanded, being preserved, has got to do with citizen involvement. We had the sacred fig tree in Westlands that was preserved through presidential decree, and that happened because of citizens protesting its eminent cut down for the Nairobi Expressway that's happening right now. I understand that there's a group of residents between on Wayaki Way, Red Hill Road that have planted 3,500 shrubs and trees after they cut down that area. So I do believe that citizens, when they pull together, they tend to have a very, very strong effect. There are areas in Dandora, like headed by community champions, that have created green spaces such as Mustard Green. There's also Com Green. And as I mentioned earlier, Kamkunji grounds have been reclaimed by a group of citizens, by a group of young citizens at that, in the middle of a pandemic. The rest of us were trying to, gather ourselves. They were reclaiming a green space. So I think it has to do with citizen involvement. It has to do with citizens pushing and saying this is what we need for ourselves. So I do see a very, very bright future. Yes.
It has been a pleasure talking to you, Cynthia.
It's been great talking to you too,
But
Richard.
before I let you go, kindly tell our viewers how one can become a member of Friends of City Park. Absolutely.
As we said, Friends of City Park is a project of Nature Kenya. So if you become a friend of City Park, you also automatically become a member of Nature Kenya. Some of the benefits do include free access to National Museum monuments and sites. You also do get a calendar. In addition to free access to in-depth discussion concerning nature. So that is the way to go about it, to become a friend of City Park. You also become a friend of Nature Kenya. It's a dual benefit. It's a wonderful relationship.
Thank you, Cynthia, for that engaging talk.
Thank you so much, Richard, for inviting Friends of City Park to sit here and talk with you. I'd like to encourage individuals to come to the park. The very rare white jacaranda is actually in bloom. We have Sykes monkeys, we have ice cream. We have a beautiful park. Come and experience it.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I hope you have gained one or two insights about the value of urban green spaces. Well, that brings us to an end of yet another episode of Nature Matters. As usual, we welcome feedback from you, our viewers. Give us a like, drop us a comment below, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell for more updates on recent uploads of our episodes. Stay safe and thank you.